Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to um, really get into some fascinating stuff, I think, about AI agents,
Yeah.
specifically for developers. And
Mm.
again, we've been poking around and looking at AI Agent Store and all the different kinds of agents that they have there. And
Yeah.
we found a really interesting one called Codel.
Yeah, it's a cool one.
And I thought this would be a good one to kind of
Yeah.
deep dive into
For sure.
because it's one of those where it's not just, idle chit chat,
Yeah.
like some chat bots you might run
Yeah,
into.
definitely not.
This is
Oh,
this is for getting work done.
It's for making things happen.
So tell me about Coda.
So Codel is an open source autonomous AI agent.
Okay.
And it's built specifically to handle like these really complex projects.
Yeah.
But the real twist with Codel is that it operates entirely within Docker environments.
Okay, now I'm not a developer. What does that mean?
Yes.
Docker environment?
Imagine like a digital workspace, right?
Right.
Super secure and totally self-contained. That's basically what a Docker container is.
Okay.
So not only is Codel like handling these really complicated tasks, but it's doing it in this really like isolated environment, which is great from a security standpoint.
Oh yeah, I mean if you're working on something sensitive, that's super important.
Especially like for client data
Right.
or proprietary information or things like that.
Yeah.
You don't want that leaking out.
So, and you said it's open source. Is that a big
It is.
as a developer?
Yeah, so open source means that developers can actually look at the code. They can modify it. They can contribute to its development. And that kind of transparency and customizability is really valuable, especially for teams that have specific needs.
So who would be using something like this? Who's the target?
So I think Codel is really well suited for like back-end developers, data engineers, system administrators, software engineers.
Like hardcore.
People.
Who know?
Yeah, basically anyone who works with code.
Yeah.
And who needs to like automate tasks.
Yeah. Give me an example. How would this actually help someone?
Sure. Okay, so let's say you're a data engineer
Mm-hmm.
and you're working with a massive data set.
Right.
You need to process and manipulate all of this data securely, but it takes forever.
Yeah.
Codel can automate that whole process inside of a Docker container, and that frees you up to work on other things.
But so instead of manually going through and like doing all that?
Exactly. Tedious work, Codel just takes care of it.
Wow.
Safely and efficiently.
That's really impressive.
It is, and because it's autonomous, you can just like set it up, let it run in the background. You don't have to sit there and watch it.
So what other kinds of tasks can it handle?
Oh, it can do a lot. It can do things like web scraping for targeted data retrieval. It can manage back-end workflows that need to happen independently. It can handle really any project that needs like file handling. And that would benefit from that kind of like an environment isolation that Docker provides.
This sounds amazing, but I have to ask, are there any limitations?
Well, I mean, you always want to be mindful of the quality of the code itself. Because Codel is open source, it's constantly evolving. So while that's great for innovation, you need to make sure that you're using a version that's been like vetted.
Oh, that's a good point. And tested.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening who wants to find out more, where should they go?
So you can head over to aiagentstore.ai and you'll find information on Codel as well as a bunch of other AI agents.
And I think it's just really cool to think about how this kind of technology can change the way people work.
It really is.
And like what could? Tasks in your own work could be revolutionized by this kind of AI.
It's a great question.
I think it's something we all need to be thinking about as we move forward into the future.